I'm opening the special meeting scheduled for Town of Florence Planning and Zoning Commission, scheduled for today, July 10th, 2014 at 6 p.m. Mr. Olguin, can you take roll call?
Yes, sir. Chairman Woolley. Vice Chair Patrick.
Present.
Commissioner Petty.
Present.
Commissioner Pranzo.
Present.
Commissioner Garcia.
Present.
We have a quorum.
And would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 4, discussion and approval or disapproval of the meeting.
Excuse me? Speaking in the mic if possible, sir. Thank you.
Not close enough, huh? We're moving on to item 4, discussion and approval or disapproval of meeting minutes for the April 17th, 2014 meeting. Have you had a chance to read these? And I guess Jim and I'd be the only ones that would know if there was something wrong. So, do I have a motion?
I have nothing to add, and I'll make a motion. We approve the meeting minutes from the meeting conducted April 17, 2014.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the April 17th meeting. Moving on to item number 5, public hearings. This is case PZC 2414 public or PUD for Arizona Farms West. We have a presentation.
Yes, sir, we do.
Excuse me one sec. I don't remember, and I might have missed it, but did we need to vote on to approve the minutes, right?
We didn't, did we?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Any
right.
motion?
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, so done. All right, back to...
Our apologies. Okay, back to the PUD 2414. Presentation, discussion, recommendation, request by WLB Group on behalf of Eldorado Holdings, Arizona, LLC, to replace the existing plan unit development PUD zoning with a new plan unit development PUD. The Arizona Farms West PUD is a planned mixed-use community of approximately 389 acres, generally located on the south side of Arizona Farms Road, east of the Quail Run Lane alignment, north of the Heritage Road alignment, and west of the Copper Basin Railroad. This case is contingent upon the annexation of the property into the Town of Florence, pending annexation 2013-01. So what we have in front of you is kind of a map to show you the location of 2 annexations that are currently pending: the Magic Ranch annexation, which is in green, and the Arizona Farms annexation, which is in blue or purple or whatever color that is. I think it's blue. Not really sure. Anyways, it's north of Florence, of current boundary. And as we mentioned before, this is contingent on a successful annexation for both. This case is going to focus on the Arizona Farms West. I'm going to try to incorporate both because they're around the same area and they have a lot of the same features. But to start with this one, which is the Arizona Farms West, here's another map that shows you the location, as I already mentioned. It's a plan unit development. It's approximately, here we go, got the wrong one. It's approximately 389 acres. The entirety of the project lies within 2 proposed annexation areas, as I mentioned before, Magic Ranch and the Arizona Farms. The entire Arizona Farms project encompasses approximately 1,155 acres. The site is currently zoned Plan Area Development in Pinal County. We have an applicant tonight that will kind of cover what the current zoning is in the county. But I'll continue with what you have in front of you in your packets. So this PUD zoning is, as I said, contingent upon the annexation. This PUD is going to bring up varied residential types of homes. It will also bring us a 14-acre elementary school site and a 20-acre public park, which is kind of unique because most of the parks that you see within these PUDs are for the people who live within the community, and they get to use it for the HOA that they pay the fee. Some of the goals that were established during the planning of this community was a land use plan that not only included a variety of land uses, also establishment of mixed land uses that varied and was diverse, creation of an on-site area for an elementary school site, creation of a advanced roadway system, and also keeping in mind the open space component. That typically is what brings a lot of the families to these PUDs. There's two components to the residential part of this PUD. The first one is it's the zoning for the PUD. It's the RML, which is the residential medium low. Residential medium low portion of this community has been placed within this PUD, and this map here will kind of show you the location. I believe it's all the areas in this area here. And the max gross density for this is 5.5 dwelling units per acre. The focus is going to be on traditional single-family detached residential product. Actually, I apologize, I got those backwards. It's going to be traditional single-family detached homes measuring about 6,500 square feet. Maximum density is going to be about 3.5 dwelling units per acre. Now, the other component was the residential medium, the RM. This one is going to be placed on the western portion of the property, and it's going to contain mostly a traditional single-family detached residential product. Maximum gross density for this is going to be 5.5 dwelling units per acre. Last component is going to be the open space and parks and trail system. The main focus here is going to be, as you see on the map, there's going to be pocket parks and several types of amenities that will exist throughout this entire piece because it's over 300 acres. But the main 20-acre park is going to be here located close to the Copper Basin Railroad. And as I mentioned before, it is going to be a community park for the public, which will be maintained by the town of Florence. There'll be also smaller scale parks throughout the entire project, greenways, and this entire piece will have a HOA placed on it to help keep the open space areas maintained. The public services for this is, upon annexation, the town of Florence Police and Fire will service this area, but there's going to be a need for a police substation and possibly a fire station, which will be located within the entire project, not just this portion here. It's located on the other PUD. As I mentioned before, there's a school. It's going to be a K-8 school, possibly, that will be located on the site, and it's in the blue or purple color here. Water for this PUD is going to be provided by Johnson Utilities. Sewer, wastewater is going to be provided also by Johnson Utilities. Transportation of this project is going to be served by a hierarchy of roadways consisting of arterial roads, collectors, and local streets. A TIA, a traffic impact analysis, will be done in this area when the infrastructure portion starts to move forward. For the general plan, this project would be consistent with the general plan. There was a minor amendment to the general plan that was done back June 19th, which makes this whole project familiar, and we're waiting for it to go to council on the 21st of July for approval or disapproval. If it's approved, it'll be consistent with the general plan. And in your report, as you'll see, I also talked about there's several different master plan communities and PUDs or PADs that exist around this project. I thought we had a map, but we don't. anyways, the projects that exist around this PUD are other MPCs and PADs. Staff has gone out and tried with public participation, we've tried as much as possible to inform the public. We've had some concerns and some mostly questions about this project. A lot of the concerns, I think, are related to the case that we did back in June 19th, which was the Arizona State land piece. So staff has recommended approval of, or I'm sorry, we recommended a favorable recommendation to Town Council. Before we get to that, I also wanted to just to briefly cover the other PAD that is being presented to you tonight. Here's a better image of both of them together. This one is the Arizona Farms East, and it's about 798 gross acres. We advertised it as 666 net acres, so the 1,155 will be off due to the fact that we use net and gross. Apologize for that. But as I said before, this is the entire piece in its entirety. The focus on this PUD is going to be, as I said, what the other one is, varied residential types and densities. There's more higher density product here. There's also commercial and employment that is going to be within this PUD. And as you can see on the map, it shows it here close to, or actually fronting Arizona Farms Road. And also what's unique about this PUD is what you see here in front of you is a corridor about 400 feet wide, and it's for the north-south, or I should say the ADOT north-south corridor, and also the ADOT passenger rail corridor that is, right now it's being proposed. So this one actually is a little more intense when it comes to the roadways and the transportation because it ties it all together. With the arterials, the minor collectors, it provides a really good connectivity to the major roadways, and also it helps with the possible corridor that's coming through the corner section of this property. With that said, the commercial is placed around the corridor, which is going to actually work quite well. As far as the residential goes, there's several more components or zonings for this one. The first one is RML, which was the same as before, the residential medium low. This will consist of traditional single-family detached houses measuring about 6,500 square feet. Maximum gross density, about 3.5 dwelling units per acre. The next one is the residential medium. This is going to be placed on the western portion of the property. It's also going to contain traditional single-family detached residential product. Maximum gross density is 5.5 dwelling units per acre. The next one is RMH, and it's going to be have maximum gross density is going to be 10 dwelling units per acre. But this one is the type of product that's going to have more of a higher density per the areas where it's being placed. And it's also with, that's going to be proposing single-family detached or attached. And the last one is the residential high, which is the RH, and it's placed adjacent to the commercial development parcels here. The higher density residential is appropriate for the adjacent commercial sites. And the type of product that you might see is going to be possible condominiums, townhomes, and apartments. Maximum gross density for this is 18 dwelling units per acre. The last component that you have on here is going to be the commercial employment. This land use district is going to provide professional office and other uses that would contribute to job creation. The PUD provides two major commercial employment parcels located adjacent to the Arizona Farms Road on either side of the north-south corridor. As far as the open space component, same applies. There's going to be at minimum 15% open space. It's going to contain several pocket parks, several amenity greenways. That's going to be throughout the entire project. which will be maintained by the HOA, Homeowners Association. But the park that's being proposed on the west side is for the entire community. Public safety, if this is successful upon annexation, will be served by the town police and the fire department. A police beat is being established for this area. It's currently being housed at the Anthem at Mel Ranch fire station. And they're setting aside 5 acres for a future police and fire, and it's located, I believe, to the north on your map here. Water will be provided by Johnson Utilities. Wastewater will be provided by Johnson Utilities. And as we mentioned before, with transportation, the 400-foot corridor that's already established, or I'm sorry, that's possibly be established in this area. It shows it on the map. And a traffic impact analysis will be required, part of the infrastructure portion of this area. And as said before, if the general plan that was brought to Commission on the 19th is approved by Council on the 21st of July, then this will be consistent. If you have any questions, you can ask me now, or we can hold and have the applicant come up and talk about the existing PAD zoning that's in place. What would you like?
Let's hear from the applicant.
Okay.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Rob Longacre. I'm with the WLB Group. My address is 4444 East Broadway Boulevard, Tucson, Arizona. I am here tonight on behalf of the property owners within both the Arizona Farms West PUD and the Arizona Farms East PUD. And I do realize that these are 2 separate items on this agenda. However, for simplicity's sake, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to talk about them both together, just because they're both together, that makes a little more sense.
It is. We can handle it.
Okay. All right. The slide you see in front of you basically is, as Gilbert mentioned, it's a portion of the existing PAD, planned area development, that exists in Pinal County that was entitled and approved by the Board of Supervisors, I believe, back in 1998. So it's been in place for many years. And the reason I say a portion of is because the PAD also covered a half section to the south of Arizona Farms East and about 2 sections to the east of the Arizona Farms East, proposed Arizona Farms East PUD. So what this exhibit is showing you is these heavy red lines. That boundary covers our proposed Arizona Farms West PUD, and then this boundary is the boundary of the proposed Arizona Farms East PUD. So the land entitlements that were approved back in the county consist of a few different categories. And starting with west, it's primarily single-family detached residential with a commercial corner up here on Arizona Farms Road and some industrial located adjacent to the railroad. The portion of the property east of the railroad consists of several different items. The dark brown you see is single-family detached residential. There's an area of industrial along the railroad here with a small commercial node and another small commercial node up here on Arizona Farms Road, and then 2 commercial parcels along Felix on the east side. And then that green band you see was a proposed golf course, a portion of, because the golf course continues off to the east. So that's in existence today. And as I think Gilbert mentioned, if the annexation is successful, basically your first step would be to translate zoning. So this PAD would be translated into basically a PUD in the town. And then immediately after that, if it was so your wish and if the council approved it, then the zoning would be changed from basically this to the documents that we have proposed to you tonight. Now, and you've seen this before, but just bring it up on the screen again. This is the proposed Arizona Farms West and East PUD. We spent a lot of time preparing the plan, and we believe the plan has many merits. In fact, we believe the plan is a much better plan than the PAD that's currently in place in the county for many reasons. Gilbert touched on those, but I'll just touch on them again because there are some important issues. As mentioned, the project is proposing a community park located here in Arizona Farms West. In addition to that, we're also proposing a elementary school site, and this location right here also in Arizona Farms West. Along with an extensive open space system that consists of parks, smaller parks, pocket parks, and linear parks, which in our opinion is better than the golf course that's currently proposed. For many reasons, we think it offers a better recreational experience, and then from a water use standpoint, we believe that these parks are also much more efficient and kinder to our water tables. We have been working on transportation issues with this project, and the circulation system that we've developed is basically a system that does several things and accomplishes several goals, one of which is that it connects with other planned transportation routes and roads around the property so that everything connects and marries up nicely. And then, as Gilbert also mentioned, this swath you see here, we've worked with staff extensively on the exact location for the north-south freeway. So we've incorporated it into the plan so that it works very nicely, actually, and very seamlessly with the plan as far as the transportation standpoint goes, and as far as appropriately planning land uses adjacent to that corridor. There is anticipation of a full traffic interchange here at Arizona Farms Road, so we've placed commercial employment opportunities near that interchange, and then have placed higher density residential uses in the area, with the density basically becoming lesser as you move away from that core area. Gilbert also mentioned that we are dedicating a 5-acre public safety site, police and fire site, and that is located right there next to Felix. A couple other things I wanted to mention. I know that in the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing for the general plan amendment, it was expressed, the concern was expressed about the change in the general plan, which had shown the entirety of the property basically as industrial previously. And I think there was, the reason we're talking about it tonight, there was some concern and some thoughts with regard to what are the entitlements for this proposed PUD as opposed to the existing PAD. I wanted to talk about those two things briefly. The prior owner before Eldorado Holdings and others purchased this property several years ago actually had an industrial user for the property. There was a solar generation facility that wanted to take down the property and put in a facility on the site. It looked really good. The prior owners actually processed an amendment to the general plan to change the classification to industrial to allow for the use. The unfortunate end of the story was that the proposed user fell out of the project and no longer pursued it, no longer wished to purchase it. So unfortunately, a great use, tremendously great use, didn't happen because the buyer no longer became interested. So now we have a situation where we don't have an industrial user for the entire site. We have property owners that have purchased the property looking to do this master plan community, and the truth is that this plan ultimately is a better plan than the PAD plan that's in existence in the county today. The acreage actually of the previous plan, let me go back to that for a second, is the purple areas, as I mentioned before, purple industrial, red commercial. If you add up the acreage of this plan, there's about 79 acres of industrial, about 48 acres of commercial in this plan, as opposed to the new plan, which has about 77 acres of commercial/employment, and that coupled with this corner right here, which is about 40 acres, is already zoned for commercial uses. Actually, the acreage of those uses is very similar. It's not much different. But overall, the property owners are very excited about the possibility of becoming part of Florence. They're looking forward to being annexed. They're looking forward to receiving an approval on the 2 requests you have before you tonight, or your recommendation for approval, I should say. They are very much looking forward to getting the property entitled and fully intend on building a great community that'll be a tremendous asset to the town of Florence. That's all I have to say. With that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions or comments you may have.
I have a question, if that's okay. Sure. So the plan that we're looking at here is based on the north-south corridor coming through. And my understanding is that that's not 100% guaranteed yet. If that were to deviate and go somewhere else, would the plan that you've presented here remain relatively consistent?
We have been talking about that very issue with staff because we have, it's a challenge because we have a corridor that began as something that was much wider than this before. So you're right, the exact alignment, though we wish it had been in concrete today, is not. But this plan actually has some flexibility in it so that, you know, if this alignment basically changes a little bit within the property, this plan will still work. If there are wholesale changes, you know, an alignment, you know, moves, you know, half a mile either direction, well, you know, then we'd have to do some adjustments. But there is the ability to move that alignment a little bit within this plan and still make it work.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a little bit. First, let me start out by saying that the PUDs were easy to read for a change. And you have an awfully nice project here, and I can see that there's been a large investment over a fairly long period of time to bring it to where it is. And quite frankly, I think it's nice that it's coming to Florence. I need some help with something because I'm between a rock and a hard spot. And maybe you can explain it to me because I can't get my arms around it. When you look at this area, employment, the cash cow that brings money into the area, is basically non-existent. Now, you're a sophisticated organization. You've spent a lot of money in planning and in property, so you must have some insight that I don't see as to what's going to attract people to this area. They can't all be retired. Somebody has to work somewhere. If you travel Hunt Highway in the morning, it's a disaster. Using Arizona Farms Road to go out to 79 and go north, of course, that's a waste of time. And when we finally get the north-south corridor, of course, you'll have that transportation corridor. When I look at this property, I see 3 railroads and a transportation corridor and an airport within stone's throw of the location. I would have thought it absolutely ideal for light industrial. Now, contrary to popular belief, I don't see commercial as economic development. I see it as the result of economic development. Because commercial simply soaks the dollars up. They end up in somebody's factory and in the tax coffer somewhere. And the dollars have to come from somewhere. So when you guys look at this thing and you say, okay, this is how this can work, if you could give me some insight as to how these people are going to make a living, I would really, really appreciate it.
Sure. Let me offer some thoughts. Just go to a different exhibit as we're speaking. Okay. All right. First of all, just some thoughts on the property itself as far as the Eldorado Holdings and the property owners do a lot of due diligence when it comes to buying properties. And as you suggested, they do. They're a sophisticated outfit, and they only look to buy properties that they think will succeed and be good communities. They are very high on Florence and the future of Florence. This project, you know, although we'd love to see them break ground tomorrow, that won't happen. So as with any project, entitlement's always the first step. It's always the magnet to get the entitlements in, and then let's go out there and see if we can start developing this, see how much interest there is. Quite frankly, it's going to be some years down the road before this project really takes traction. We are hopeful of several things, that the town has a tremendous general plan and is looking to grow. We know that. This project wants to grow along with it. I brought up this map because this is basically the town's, this is your general plan. And it's interesting when you look at it, but I appreciate the comments you made about the industrial for sure. And I agree with you that this would have been a great location for industrial and for employment. And in fact, someone else thought the same thing because they were in escrow actually to buy this property to develop that solar generation facility. So right, would have been a great spot. Right. Unfortunately, it was subject to the whims of the economy and the whole thing tanked. So, I see, when I look at this map, I see that there is a lot of opportunity within the town for employment elsewhere that is actually very similar to this property. If you look up here near the railroads,
I don't get to see your pointer on the
oh,
screen.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Go ahead, point and I'll look.
Yeah, so we have a lot of employment shown in here. It's also adjacent to the railroad corridor, as is this area up here, and obviously all the other purple areas around town. So yeah, I understand your thoughts about loss of employment and industry on this piece, absolutely. But the area, and Gilbert started talking about it, the area is actually developing in a different character. We have surrounding PUDs and PADs that consist of master plan communities for the most part, residential uses, commercial uses, et cetera. So actually, quite frankly, I think this is a piece of the puzzle that actually fits in quite nicely with surrounding not only proposed master plan communities, but to our immediate south and to our immediate southwest, there's actually existing residential. So it does flow and fit in quite nicely with those surrounding properties. But as I said, this is a long-term venture, and the commercial is always an interesting conversation. Does it generate jobs? Well, yes, it does generate jobs, but they're not generating the jobs I think that you're really talking about.
You need a cash cow somewhere.
You do. They generate revenue for the town, but they're not generating maybe the better high-paying jobs, which I agree with you on that, absolutely. But we're optimistic that those things, those job opportunities, and those users that will employ those folks, there's still opportunities for them in other places in the town.
Okay, well, it's your investment. And good luck with it.
Okay, anybody else? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'm ready to open a public hearing. Should we combine both of these in the public hearing?
No, we do. I believe we should do them separately. That's how we advertised it. Okay. So we'll just, if you'd like, Vice Chair, just read the title of the first PUD, and we'll open up the hearing if you wish.
Opening the public hearing for case number PZC 24-14. Any public comment?
Hi, my name is Phil Hollins. I live at 25374 North Poseidon Road, Florence. I had a couple of questions in regard to the PD, to both sections. First of all, and also I'd like to reserve my time for when they're answering the questions. Is that okay? I think I have 3 minutes.
Generally, we give you 3 minutes. So,
but if they're talking 3 minutes, I don't really get 3 minutes. So I'm just asking, is that possible? Since we don't have a big crowd here tonight. You got it. Thank you. All right. Basically, how many residents do you plan to add to both areas? Ballpark.
Commission can direct staff to answer questions, or just take the comments as statements. It's up to the commission.
We can't answer that directly.
You can't answer, but they can.
So once again, the commission can direct staff or not. It's up to you.
Why don't you guys answer it if you can, or take a note to do that? I don't remember.
It doesn't have to be exact. I'm not trying to put, just trying to get an idea. back to his, because he brought up a good valid point about traffic going in and out. And if we're looking at an average person having, 2 cars per family, I like to have an idea, because my neighbors would like to know that. You don't know?
No, we do. We're just going to have the applicant answer the question.
Okay. Get out the way, sir.
Vice Chair, members of the commission, I mean, all that we can do at this point is say that approximately there's going to be 2.5 residents per home. That's going to vary. It could be some homes are going to be higher, more folks in the home. Some may be less. There may be some single occupant homes. It depends on the number of apartments, the amount of townhomes, the amount of condominiums, the amount of the lower density product. It depends on a lot of factors that are occurring on this plan. So you could take a best and worst case scenario and look at the maximum density and multiply it by 2.5, and you could get, that would be your conceptual maximum density of.
I remember we did this for the consideration of the group home a couple of years ago in Parkside, that we determined so many so many vehicles per commute, and how many people lived in the area. And so
right, and actually, anytime that the next step on the zoning is when you go to preliminary plat, and when you start getting into that stage, like Gilbert indicated before, you do a traffic impact analysis and you assess the needs of the infrastructure to get in and out of the project, just as you do with water, wastewater, all the other critical infrastructure needs.
Well, sir,
but my question is normally when you create a plan, you do a traffic analysis.
Yes.
And I'm not asking for an exact figure today. What I want to know is a low end, a high end. Do you think you're going to have 2,000 folks coming here? You think you're going to, or it can be arranged between 1,000 to 2,000 or what? That's all I'm asking. And I'm sure you guys have that data already if you came up.
Sure, there's a maximum residential dwelling unit count in your plan. We could multiply that by 2.5. I'm not carrying a calculator on me, but that could give you this scenario. I assume that that's going to be a high-end scenario, though. Okay. As we've seen with Anthem at Merrill Ranch, came in with a higher projection on the density in the overall of 3.5 or so, and they're roughly at a 2.6 dwelling units per the acre. So, as far as
is your concern the amount of traffic, the increase in traffic on?
Well, yeah, traffic, air pollution, noise pollution, and basically, like he was saying, how are they going to get out? I mean, if you look at the roads now, we're just changing those roads to be, to take care of the folks in Santan Valley. Yeah. However, when you add another 2,000 plus people to that same road,
well,
and I can wait till tomorrow. I can come by the office tomorrow if they can give me a figure.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure they can get that data for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My next question is, this particular land that they're talking about, are both of these part of the Arizona Farms annexation?
Yes.
So they don't have anything to do with Santan Valley? I mean, with Magic Ranch? Is that correct?
Well, Vice Mayor, members of the Commission, this is a little different of a public hearing format. Typically, it's the public will make comments, and we'll collect those comments, and ultimately we'll respond. But with your permission, I can respond to that.
I'd like you to. I mean, he's asking some questions that I think are valid. So
glad to respond question by question as you agree. The Arizona Farms West project is part of the is part of the Magic Ranch. The whole project is called Arizona Farms, so we can't really get that confused with the annexation names. But the Arizona Farms West project is part of the Magic Ranch annexation. The Arizona Farms East project is part of the Arizona Farms annexation.
Right. Okay.
Okay, and was it like that before they're trying to do this divide? This division that you're doing now, was it like that before, or were these both of these areas combined together prior to what you're trying to do today?
No,
Vice Chair, members of the Commission, these are following the configurations of the annexations that has been recorded and filed, and they've always been two separate projects and two separate annexations.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the only thing I can say, I understand your concerns.
Right.
Are the roads going to be developed fast enough to cover all of this development that's coming? If you go online and look at, just let me offer this, look at the Brookings Institute study for the Sun City, or for the Sun Corridor. And it's a huge study that goes well beyond our 2020 plan. If you go online and look at that, you'll see what's coming.
Right.
It's been slowed up because of the economy in the last decade, but it's starting to grow again, and we're all going to be faced with traffic and not enough roads, and it's just a thing that comes with growth.
Right, but the concern is making sure that with the infrastructure, I mean, when this occurs, that the infrastructure is not forgotten. I didn't hear anything about the infrastructure at one point, you know, of building the roads and doing all these different things that normally come with this process.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I do have a background in this, so
Okay.
so that's why I'm just asking.
Sure. You know that Hunt Highway is in the process of being widened.
Right.
And that's a several-year project, so that's coming and on its way.
Right. And also know about the transportation route that they're trying to bring off to Attaway, but they've changed that so many times in the last 7 years since
Yes.
I've been in Arizona. All right, and let's see. I just basically I definitely oppose this process, so just get my official notification out there to let you know. And the last part is for this particular session is that I noticed, like he was saying earlier, there's a lot of changes, but when we hear in these different meetings, they say you can't change the plan, you can't go against the plan. Technically, when anybody brings a plan up and says that we have to go by the plan, it's not our plan, it's your plan. Oh, sorry. And what I mean by that is not to say, hey, what the heck are you doing? But this is something that your voters have taken into consideration to do this annexation and to allow you to do the different zoning. But our communities had no say in this particular process. So that's why, you know, I specifically oppose. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comment? I don't mind doing that once in a while because I think he brought up some valid points that, you know, certainly we should keep in mind, and I'm sure we do. So, anybody else?
Good evening. My name is John Danico. I live at 5597 East Dionysus. And my question is by splitting the PUD into two sections, does the change impact the values of the land for the purpose of calculating property value assessments, and thus how the 51% is going to be calculated? In other words, if by splitting this and say Magic Ranch doesn't get annexed, or either one of them, will that change the value of the property, thus affecting a change in how the 51% value calculation is managed in the petition process?
Staff have any comment on that?
Vice Chair, members of the Commission, well, that particular question, of course, would really not have anything to do with the zoning case that's on the agenda tonight, but I'd still be happy to entertain it. The two boundaries were established, and they are two unique annexation boundaries, and largely why they were established that way is to meet the length and width criteria of the state statutes on annexation. So that's largely why they were broken up. There was no calculations of everybody's property value and the number of signatures and so forth. We identified two opportunities for annexations, have gone through a substantial outreach process and educational process, multiple meetings and discussions, fact sheets, information available on our website, et cetera. And now these property owners that are, caught up in the annexation process because they have property that we'd like to bring into the town. They're merely processing a zoning essentially what comes down to is a zoning amendment on their property, because they could, if the annexation is successful, they'll come in with PAD zoning. It's just that you saw the zoning that they had there. It's really not preferable compared to what we could achieve on the property.
Right. Okay. Anybody else have anything? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing on the first PUD, and I'm opening the public hearing on the PZC 25-14 PUD.
By now, you should all know my address, but anyway, my name is Phil Hollins. It's 25374 North Poseidon Road, Florence, Arizona. The gentleman back here, he brought up some good points. Some of the things that I would like to know is developmental impact fees. I know the residents and the folks in Anthem are having to pay certain fees because I guess the builder put those fees on there. And the builder, with the authorization, I believe, of the town, put those fees on the residents there. So my question is that part of the plan for these developments? Are they going to do the same thing, or are they going to cover their own expenses instead of putting those fees on the actual residents that move into these homes?
And you can address that too.
Sure. Vice Chair, members of the Commission, I believe what he's referring to in Anthem at Merrill Ranch, they have a community facilities district that was established before the construction started out there on that development. They also pay development impact fees, so they are two completely separate things, the CFD and the development impact fees. So they participate in the CFD out in that development, and when every project is built, they pay development impact fees. Arizona Farms West, Arizona Farms East will pay all of the development impact fees that are applicable to the property. They will pay permit fees, plan review fees for preliminary plats, final plats, recording, maps of dedication, easements, et cetera, whatever it happens to be. Whether or not there will be a CFD on the property is not something that would be decided at this point. The developer would have to come forward with a request to form a CFD on the property, which is what occurred on Anthem at Merrill Ranch. The town was not the one that initiated that process. So the developer would have to come forward to say, I'd like to have the town or the CFD board consider the formation of a CFD on all or a portion of the property. That would be evaluated. We have a financial consulting team that would do substantial evaluation of that, and ultimately it would be up to the council to make that decision. But the CFD would be something that would be applied on their property, though. It wouldn't be extending outside of that on other additional properties.
Property owners in Florence Gardens are still subject to that.
Right.
And that's an old established community, so that hasn't changed. So I think we kind of beat this to death.
Well, my concern is that, okay, they end up getting the fees, okay, and then they're going to be listed in the Magma Flood Control District, which is additional fees on them, depending on how much. Right now, it could be $300 to $500, depending on fixing that, and I know that they don't have anything to do with that part. But the thing is that we don't want to have neighbors that have to move into a community where they're going to be hit with fees constantly, half their taxes are going to be fees based on CDF and actual the district fees for, plus I don't even know if the fire department up there is going to be a district fire department or not, which may incur additional fees. So that's the reason why I brought that particular question up. The gentleman talked earlier about the land and how to build property, about building property out in that area to find an industry. One of the questions I have is that there's a major assumption here that this town is going to get Santan Valley, all right? And it's on your maps already, identified. Matter of fact, if we can go back to the map, can we go back to that portion, please?
Chair?
Well, I think
Vice Chair, if I may, we need to stay focused on the zoning case.
we're getting into We're drifting far.
No, I
afield.
think we're drifting away. If it's not on the agenda, we could be in open
I'm not going to stick,
violation.
I'm not going to stick
We
on
have
that
to-
point for long. I just want to show one thing.
Well, let me
But the
explain,
zoning is-
let me explain to you, first of all,
Okay.
we're restricted by what we talk about to an agenda, and that's based on open meeting law in the state of Arizona.
I understand.
And we are in the midst of a public hearing right now, and that public hearing needs to address specifically the issue of zoning and those kinds of things. I appreciate all of the information that you're providing and that. I would suggest that maybe you spend a little time with, come over to the planning department,
Can I say
spend a
one
little
thing
time
real
with the staff guys, and,
Okay, but this has already been opened by the gentleman here. He identified that area, so I'm just
No,
going back to...
no, sir. That's not the rule. That's not how it
But what
works.
I'm asking is, he already talked about where industry is going to come in, and so I want to hit that point.
We can't use drifting away from the subject as an excuse to drift further away from it.
Okay, but the reason why I bring this up,
No, sir, we have to cut it off right now.
for that
Okay.
point, okay, I won't talk about that, right?
No, I think we've gone far afield. We've given you a lot of latitude, a lot more than we would otherwise if Chairman Woolley were here.
So you're not going to let me talk, is what you're saying, right?
That's the improper way to say that.
But that's the way
We
it
are
seems
holding-
to me.
Vice Chair?
we are
Vice Chair, if I may? If it's pertaining to the zoning,
Yes, that's what I'm talking-
absolutely, your questions are not. So I just want to be very clear.
I don't want to talk about the zoning for that area. I just brought up that point. I just want to ask about this particular region here, all right? And what I'm saying is
If it
that
pertains to
there's an
the zoning.
assumption that we're going to have this industry that's going to be able to take
But
care
again,
of...
sir, this has nothing to do with the zoning. You're talking about future use, speculation about what might happen, what the economy will do, all of those kinds of things. That's all well and good. That's a nice discussion. For the purposes of this meeting, we're talking about zoning for this project. And that's
Right.
all. That's all we're talking about.
And I just want to ask one question then. The question is that when the member of the board asked about industry around this particular area, because he did not see it, and he said, what is to make you think that there's going to be that industry here to bring people into this zoning? And so he had mentioned a couple of areas, but I'm not going to talk about those areas. All I'm saying is that there's not, as far as we know at this point, that industry does not exist. That's all I'm saying.
Let me clarify my question.
Uh-huh.
I was talking about this property and its zoning change in specific.
Right, and that's what I'm
And I was
talking about.
taking the opportunity
And
to pick the brain of a professional. We have professionals on staff, but sometimes it's nice to get a second opinion. And that's really all it was. It's not meant to extend and talk about other parts of the area. It was a transformation of this parcel that the town had on your 2020 plan as light industrial, and now it'll be residential. The developer already had a plan that was submitted to the county in 1998. So he's not changing anything. It was just on my part, picking his brain. That's all it was.
And all I was doing is piggybacking off of your question, that's all. So I had some questions on my own, but thank you.
all right. I'm closing the public hearing. Okay, let's move on to item number 6, agenda item number 6. Yeah, I guess we do, don't we? Okay, I'll take a motion for a recommendation.
Excuse me, Vice Chair,
Yes?
could you give us 1 minute? Just give us 1 minute, sir, please.
Have a minute.
Sorry, Commissioners, I believe it would probably be appropriate before closing the public hearing to offer any other individuals that have not yet had an opportunity to take advantage of the public hearing, to allow them to do that, if there's any new comments or new individuals that have not yet done that.
We can do that. So I'll reopen the public hearing. Are there any other comments?
I'm just a property owner there to the north of this project.
Could you identify yourself?
And
for the
my
record?
name is Vinson, V-I-N-S-O-N, Dobson, D-O-B-S-O-N, for the record. We do have a PUD, existing PUD with the town of Florence on the north side of Arizona Farms Road, adjacent to the, immediately adjacent to this property. I just, you know, it's the first time I've seen the plan, and Mark was gracious enough to give me a couple of books, or a book on each application. And I'd just like to reserve the right at maybe a future date to make comment after we study this and see how it may impact our own PUD in the future. And that's all I really have to say. And my address is 207 West Alamosa Drive, Chandler, Arizona.
Yeah,
We
your
do
next-
have 3 sections.
Your next opportunity
to
will be the council meeting on the 21st.
Yes, I'll be here. I'll have a representative come and maybe make comment at that time. So, but until I can further, you know, look at the plan and absorb it and get comment maybe with council.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Okay. Closing the public hearing. And I'm looking for a motion for recommendation. And let's do the first one, item 5A, PZC 24-14.
Mr. Chairman, recommend for approval case PZC 24-14 PUD Arizona Farms West.
I'll second a favorable endorsement to the town council.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second for favorable recommendation to the town council. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Would you pass on a favorable recommendation to town council for items 5A? The next case is case PZ 25-14 PUD, and again, I'll look for a motion for recommendation.
Vice Mayor and Vice Chair, and members of the commission, I believe we need to open up a public hearing on this particular case. There's a public hearing on each.
We did.
Item, right?
We did open.
Okay, so we've covered both the
Covered both.
west and the east? Okay. We had some changes in our protocol this evening, so I just want to make sure.
I understand. So do I have a motion for item 6B?
I'll make a motion to forward a favorable recommendation for case PZC-25-14 PUD Arizona Farms East.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to forward a favorable recommendation on PZC 25-14 PUD. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Will you pass on a favorable recommendation on item number 6B, PZC 25-14 PUD?
Yes, we will. Thank you.
And let's move on to item number 6, call to the public for public comment. Anybody of the public would like to speak, address commissioners or anything like that? Okay, I'm going to close that public hearing and open it to the commissioners for comment. Any comments, questions? Nope. Everybody?
The only comment I would just say, and I know there's not a lot of people here, but I think that it's difficult to be in a region that has the potential to change rapidly. I know that we're not changing rapidly at this time, but I think that economy thrives when people are willing to invest and they're willing to develop and they're willing to look to the future and be optimistic. And change can be frightening, especially when you don't know how things are going to turn out. I would just encourage people to have faith in our region, have faith in the town of Florence, and know that there are many opportunities along the way in a development to speak your mind and to have input into the development process. But we are grateful that people are willing to invest in Pinell County, invest in the town of Florence, and I think at the end of the day, we all want it to grow and we all want it to be better. And along those lines, I'd like to recognize the town's community development staff, the planners, and the director for the excellent work that they do preparing these materials, having come from another place. That these, the people that you have working for the town of Florence and doing this, preparing these packets for us and having these conversations with developers, they do an extraordinary job, and I just want to recommend that. Recognize them for that work at this time.
Ditto.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I guess we're ready to adjourn. Anybody want a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion we adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:02.
Second.
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 Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
So adjourned.